This is Jizzy Pearl here from Love Hate, my new record, Punk Rock Fiesta. You are listening to We Go to 11.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
So Jizzy, thank you so much. This will be for We Go to 11. You have a new record coming out on March 1st titled Punk Rock Fiesta. So how long has this thing been in the works?
I like how you emphasize the word fiesta.
Well, I am Latino, so I think I have to do that. Mandatory.
Well, you know what? A lot of people have commented that the record has a lot of energy and a lot of attitude. Right. And I'm just really happy that people get it. You know what I mean? Because that's what I was shooting for. I wasn't shooting for Billy Joel. I was shooting for to try and keep, blow the roof off the place. You know what I mean? Remember when you used to put records on really loud before we all had tinnitus?
Right.
And remember, we used to crank it. And it was part of your daily life of you. In your house, you had your music going all the time and it was really loud and you were immersed in it. And kind of that's what I wanted to convey in this record is just 100% old school rock attitude, I guess.
Right. One of the questions that I have on my list in my memory banks here is I was going to ask you, I mean, are you still angry? And I think that's kind of what people have been hearing, right? The energy, the aggression, and I hear it as kind of punk rock.
Well, aggression doesn't necessarily have to be anger. I used to be angry when I was broke. So it was a lot easier to write Blackout in the Red Room because you're broke. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But no, it doesn't have to be anger. You just have to kind of keep that flag waving of the youthful. What I wanted to do was for this record is to try and convey an attitude of four young guys in a garage banging out music for no other reason than, to please themselves. And, that's sort of the emotion that I wanted to convey.
Mm-hmm. 8 tunes on this one, but I think tune after tune, I think that attitude, that aggression and that kind of spirit of punk rock. I mean, you hear that throughout.
Spirit of punk rock is a good way of putting it, because obviously, we're not dead Kennedys here. We're basically what I've done for years and years is the Led Zeppelin, the AC/DC, the Who. I've been channeling all my heroes, and so that's not going to change. But the spirit of punk rock was always appealing to me. You know what I mean? That the I don't give a fuck attitude has always been appealing to me. And that has helped me these 35 professional years.
Right. And there you go. I would imagine for somebody that didn't have that, huge break, like let's say like a Nikki Sixx. I mean, I'm thinking it's probably harder for somebody at that level to have that punk rock spirit, although I think he oftentimes references to it.
Well, I think I did. That's the thing is I never lament the fact that my old band never sold millions of records. I always appreciate the fact that we got what we got. We made great music and we did great tours. I mean, I played arenas and stadiums for years and years and years, and so I don't ever look on the past with any sort of, I never, what I didn't get. I always look at it, what I did get.
Makes sense. The half full versus half empty kind of
thing. Yeah, for sure.
I was going to say something because it's something that I've always thought about, but never really got a chance to chat with you about it. Would it be wrong of me to say that Love Hate was kind of the band that bridged the gap between like GNR and like Jane's Addiction? Because you guys slotted right in the middle. You know, like you guys could have performed with either of the two acts and
I
kind of
did
were.
perform with both acts, actually.
Oh, okay, okay. But would you agree? I mean, with the I Love Hate was kind of like the band that kind of bridged the gap. You weren't
Yeah.
totally into that scene, but you weren't totally into the other scene either.
No, and when you say that, it in retrospect, it probably hurt us because it's a lot easier for record companies or fans sometimes to be able to put you in a certain compartment. They're like this band, or they're like Skid Row, or they're like, Black Sabbath, or they're like this, or, but when you have several influences that you pull from, Jane's, the Chili Peppers, AC/DC, you know what I mean? Then you're harder to pin down, and you're different. And there's certain bands that were out at that time that were different like us, like Saigon Kick was a little different,
Right.
at the end of the day, you are what you are. You know what I mean? And,
Sure.
that music has lasted the test of time. So
Sure. You did make reference. I mean, at what point did you guys perform with GNR and also with Jane's? Like what timetable
we
are we talking
performed.
about?
We performed with. There were two different scenes sort of competing
Right.
in LA at the time. There was sort of the alternative goth scene, and then there was the Sunset Strip, whiskey scene, Gazzarri's, Roxy, so to speak.
Right.
And we started off playing alternative goth, and then we sort of evolved into the Sunset Strip, and so we ended up, over our period of time, opening for both bands. And I used to love Jane's Addiction back.
Right.
I had their cassette of their demo before they ever got signed to Warner Brothers, and I used to just blast that cassette, and I just thought to myself, this is my band. I'm the only one in the world that knows how good this band is. And then, a year later, everyone else knew.
Sure. Right. What was the reaction to Love Hate, supporting either of those two bands or performing with either of those two bands?
We were out of control. We were at that time, when
Right.
you listen to the first record, Blackout in the Red Room, I mean, it's sort of a dear diary of how we were living back then. I mean, it was uncontrolled, crazy, rebelliousness, but it just seemed very normal. When you're young, you don't think about things like, how am I going to pay the mortgage, or I better not, drive 140 miles an hour because I might get injured. I mean, you don't think about stuff like that. You live on the seat of your pants. And so that's kind of how we were at that time. And we were lucky enough and good enough to score, a record deal and make all that great music.
Right. Right. So jumping back now to the current music, Punk Rock Fiesta. So who's in the band these days?
Well, it's me. And I used the guys that have played on my last few records. Dave Moreno on drums, who has been in a million bands, and he's a session guy, and he's amazing. And I have Darren Householder on guitar, who was in Love Hate years ago.
Right.
And he did a great job.
He's a great guitar player. I mean, I saw him with the reformed Rough Cut a few years back, and yeah, I mean, he definitely has the stage presence and physically fit, that guy.
Yeah, it's a little creepy.
In what way? Like he's super healthy?
Yeah, he's a little too healthy.
Oh no, that's not a bad thing. I think
We need-
you were just talking about us decomposing, or what was it that you were saying as we get older?
Well, I'm not speaking for myself.
Oh, okay,
I'm
just
doing
me.
fine over here.
All right. But okay, so what with him? I mean, you're pretty tight with him then. I mean, he's still performing with you, recording and everything.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, he like all the other Love Hate guys are semi-retired or fully retired and
Right.
don't do music anymore. So I call on him uh when I first approached him with this collection of music. I think it was a little daunting for him because he's a very skilled musician, and so I wanted him to. I actually said to him, I said, you're going to be a punk rock guitar player now,
Yeah.
and which scared him because,
Ah,
well, I mean, it would be kind of like saying you're going to learn Chinese,
right.
you know, but once he got over his initial shock, he embraced the music, and when again, it's not punk rock. I mean, punk rock,
Sure.
people think that punk rock musicians are unskilled, but they're actually, it's really hard to play that stuff. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's really
Yeah.
hard to play that regimented down picking style,
Mhm.
so he just had to adjust and again kind of make the songs conform to what Love Hate is, which is kind of, around my creative vision.
Right. And with like you said, you bring the songs, you should present them to Darren, you tell him, hey, this is what we're going to go with. Is it difficult to send it back, so to speak, if you're like, hey, you need to like maybe not do too much of that, because like you said, he is a skilled guitar player.
Um, well, I think this is the third record that we've done together.
Hmm.
And so he was a lot more comfortable in what I thought I wanted, as
Hmm.
opposed to, there's this story in the Eagles documentary about how Don Felder used to send the writers a
Right.
bunch of songs and he was just noodling all over it. And they would send it back going, well, where do you think the vocals are going to be? There's no space for the vocals.
Right.
So I think I use that as an analogy because Darren now sort of gets it as a songwriter. You play in and out of the song. You play what's good for the song. You don't overplay. You know what I mean? And there's
Sure.
plenty of spots. There's so much guitar on this song. The guitars are competing with the vocals in spaces.
Mhm.
It's like a cage match, a UFC cage match where 1,700 guitars are fighting little Jizzy's vocals. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right.
so
Oh,
there's plenty of space for everyone to shine in this music. And so, I think he got that a little bit more on this third,
yeah.
time around.
Now, the first single off this is "You're Gonna Burn." So what was the inspiration for this one?
Uh well, I don't, I don't know specifically because this song came to me really fast. I mean, I was playing around with the verse, and the verse was, I wanted something that kind of sounded like Billy Idol's White Wedding, kind of that driving
Hmm.
beat, but very subtle. And then I wanted it to jump into a big chorus, which is kind of Rage Against the Machine, for want of a better word.
Right.
And both of those parts came to me really fast. I mean, sometimes those are the best ones that kind of just appear out of the ether. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Right.
You like, ask Elton John how he wrote your song, and he can't really
Right.
tell you. It's just
Sure.
that he wrote it in a half hour. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And
Sure.
but he's Elton John. For me, I just appreciate when the good ones come really fast. And generally, when the good ones, when they come really fast, they're really good. It's almost like you're being handed something, a gift from the rock gods.
Right. Right. Was there a particular song that stands out where you're like, this one took a little bit to kind of get to meet the vision that you had for it?
Uh, not so much. I wanted more guitars on this song. If you were to listen to the other two records I did, which was on Frontiers and on the
Right.
Golden Robot, the
Mhm.
guitars are tucked in a little bit and the vocals sort of on top, sort of traditional,
Sure.
you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I pushed the guitars up on this one, like I said, to sort of compete with the vocal, to give more energy, to deliver more aggressiveness and attitude and stuff. And so it was just a little bit of a battle
Right.
between me and my mixing engineer over where the vocal level sits, because you want to hear what I'm saying, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
You don't want
Yeah.
you don't want the vocals to be buried. And so it was a little bit of a battle to do that. But there was no particular song that was tough. I mean, they all sort of came pretty easy.
Now, with there's 8 tunes on this one. Uh, are all the songs that you had, did all those make it, or was there anything that you just kind of
Um,
tucked away in the vaults?
well, I have new songs now,
Mm,
but I wanted to have this CD. See, I'm going on tour in 2 weeks, playing the UK.
right, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I wanted it. It was sort of a situation to where I wanted something to have for the UK. And so, yeah, it was 8 was what I had to do and to record. And so I just kind of went with that.
Right. And you do, like you mentioned, you have these dates coming up. Is Darren and the guys, they're gonna be the band, or do you have
No,
somebody else?
I have a UK,
Okay.
a full band over there,
Okay.
and they've been with me, I guess, for 7 or 8 years.
Oh, okay.
And it works out good, you know what I mean? Because I can just go over there with my wife, Chuck
Mhm.
Berry style, and
Sure.
and pick up a band, and yeah, and we have a good time over there, and you know what I mean. The British are funny as fuck, and so we always have a good time over there, and yeah, I'm looking forward to that tour.
And that's kind of like, like you said, Chuck Berry, and I think most recently is like kind of like the Paul Di'Anno and Tim Ripper Owens model, where they just zip across the planet and there's a band
A lot of
there.
guys, a lot
Yeah.
of guys do that.
Right.
I toured with when I was in LA Guns. I toured with Joe Lynn Turner, and he
Oh,
had
yeah.
and we
Mhm.
were playing in South America, and he just had a band learn all the songs,
Yeah.
and it's just easier that way. Not only easier,
Convenience,
but
right?
financially
Yeah.
easier. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because you don't have to pay for 4 or 5 round trip tickets, so it works out good.
Nice. How does the rehearsal stuff work? I mean, obviously they're pretty tight in terms of them rehearsing on their own, but how much rehearsal time do you have with the band?
Well, you have to trust that they're going to have their shit together. I mean, I know of certain guys that have
Right.
done what I have tried to do what I do, and they go over there and their band are just fuck ups. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? They don't have their shit together, and it's a fiasco, So yeah, by the 8th show, they can play all the songs, but by that time you're coming home
I think I
in
think one of the,
disgrace.
yeah, I think one of the things that stands out, I think there was and I'm saying it, you didn't, but one is the Ted Poley meltdown that he had in South America. I think there was a couple of the bandmates that weren't hitting the right notes, and I think he threw a keyboard or smashed it or something. I mean, yeah, that would be frustrating.
There's so much more to that story that
Oh, I'm
that,
sure.
that I cannot that I
Yeah, I'm
dare
sure.
not. Well, I dare not
I have
speak
heard,
of.
I have heard, but yeah, I
Okay,
think you're,
okay.
yeah.
So okay.
Yeah, I'm aware of some of the details behind that. But yeah, part of it was like the disaster that could happen if maybe some of
Well,
the
but
bands.
that's incumbent on the artist. You know, I've
Sure.
done this a couple of times with different people, and if you can't just trust that, go to some foreign country and trust that they're going to learn all. I mean, there's through the internet and through FaceTime and stuff like that, you can actually monitor what's going on,
Sure.
and you can make sure that, or they can send you videos and stuff like that. And you can go, okay, well, look, do this, you can correct people in a cool way.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it's incumbent upon you as the solo musician, so to speak, to have your band have their shit together. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's on you.
Right. Right. Because ultimately, I think the bottom line is it's a reflection on the performer, the featured performer.
Well,
so in this case,
if you don't,
you or
well,
whoever.
if you don't care, they don't care.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, makes sense. Now, for myself, as far as I listened to this album over the last few days, I mean, "You're Gonna Burn" is one of my favorites. But then I'm also really enjoying "Over the Edge." So,
Yeah.
well, what can you tell me about that tune? What's the origins behind that one?
Well, on this record, I did something different. And if you've heard the record, you know what I'm talking about. I kind of went for some stream of consciousness shit talking, and like the old school Faith No More rap vocal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know why. It just seemed to fit the song. And I do it at the end of "You're Gonna Burn," where I'm just kind of lamenting the fact that this chick is fucking me over. And on "Over the Edge, it's just kind of the same thing when I'm doing the verses. The verses are very heavy, and the chorus is kind of, melodic and sort of Tears for Fears, sowing the seeds of love. You know what I mean? I wanted that dichotomy of music, and it just seemed to make sense for me to rap it, and as opposed to sing it. It seemed to make more sense with the direction of the music. And I do it on certain songs. "Did You Think You Could Fall in Love" is kind of the same thing, where I'm just kind of in a I'm in an insane asylum, and I'm just kind of screaming to the world. I mean, she's fucking you over, she, and that, because that would be real life. That would be someone screaming to the world, to the rock gods, help me, help me. And so that's kind of how it came out. And it is humorous.
Sure.
I mean, it's when I listen to it sometimes, it's kind of funny. It's kind of, I don't know, it's amusing to me.
Now, real quick, since you brought it up, did you think you could fall in love? I'm guessing that was inspired by a person. I mean, you don't have to say, but either somebody you were involved with, or somebody was involved with. I mean,
it's usually, yeah, I'm happily married, for the record.
Right. Same here.
It's usually when I write songs like that, which kind of poke fun at relationships with women, or breaking up with women, or I usually draw on my past, or I look at people around me, maybe that are having relationship problems, and I sort of use them as a template for writing. You know what I mean?
Right.
For example, the song "The Wrath of Love," which is on the record, that's a love song straight up for my wife. And it's tongue in cheek, but it is a love song, for sure.
Sure. Nice. Yeah, that's another good one. Jeez. I mean, and I think was it, I mean, I know you said that these are the songs you had, but I think going back to the 8-song format is probably the way to go. It's old school, and there's less chance there's going to be filler on there. I think anytime you go beyond the 10 track albums, there's always that fear that there's going to be filler.
That is one sort of thing these days, that streaming has changed the way people think about a record. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're thinking outside the box. I mean, you make videos, but there's no MTV. It just goes straight to YouTube. You know what I mean? People used to make videos that went to MTV. You would hope that it would be on MTV and it would break your band. people used to make 12-song records, as a rule. And maybe there was some filler on it, but streaming 2025, the state of the record business / industry / commerce has changed everything. And yeah, I mean, if people are going to buy this record, either digitally or as a vinyl or something like that, it really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? As long as you get your money's worth, I guess.
Sure, sure. How are you doing on time, Jizzy? I got a few more things, but if we need to cut it,
Shoot.
let's go for it. So I want to go back to the first couple records because again, that was kind of my discovery, introduction to the band and yourself as an artist. With Blackout in the Red Room, you guys enlisted Tom Werman. Was that the choice the band had, or was that more of a label or availability, or what was going on?
We didn't enlist him. What happened was before we ever got a record deal, he approached us and we did a showcase for him because we had a small buzz, and there were people kind of sniffing around. It's just funny. Everybody hated us for years and we couldn't get a record deal. We got turned down dozens of times. I mean, we were the bridesmaid, never the bride, you know what I mean, for years. And it got pretty desperate. And then all of a sudden, when somebody or two people or three people take an interest, then everybody starts sniffing around.
Right.
And Tom Werman came to us and we did a private showcase for him. And he wanted us to sign what is called a production deal with his production company. And he would be the intermediary between the band and the label, which was, he had a deal with Columbia Records.
Right.
And I don't know what would have happened. I don't know if we would have, made the same amount of money or whatever, but those kind of deals are generally not as good as straight up record deals. So anyway, that's what he wanted to do. And we showcased for him and he liked us and he took us to his house and he had, the wall of gold records and platinum records. It was intentional, obviously. I'm sure his maid, polished all those records,
Right.
very shiny.
Sure.
So when we would be suitably impressed, which we were. I mean, he is the real deal.
Right.
And what happened was he was talking to someone at Columbia Records, a guy named Ron Oberman. And he said, I really like this band, Love Hate. I think they're really good. I want to sign them to my production company. He goes, but I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. So whatever you do, don't sign them, which was, I'm saying that because what happened was we played the Whiskey and Columbia Records went over his head and signed us.
Oh.
So, but we still wanted Tom Werman as our producer. So what I'm saying is it worked out better for us than for him, but he still did the record and it's a great record.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of one of the signature albums of your career. With Wasted in America, Werman wasn't involved on that one as far as production. How did you go about, I guess, searching for the producer that would work on that one? Because he's done some more of the slicked and polished bands of the era.
Right. He, I don't know exactly, but what happened was, Ron Oberman had a partner at Columbia Records named David Kahn, who was a producer also. Mm-hmm. He's done a bunch of stuff through the label. And I thought, this was my idea. I thought, why don't we move to New York, get a loft? Because we used to all live in a loft. Okay. Picture like the Real World. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
We all lived in this loft and we all had bedrooms there and it was shenanigans 24/7. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to live in New York and get a loft and make a record in New York and have this guy, David Kahn, do the record because he lived in New York. So everybody sort of thought about it, and then it ended up that this guy David Kahn couldn't do the record for whatever scheduling reason. So they got this guy John Jansen,
Right.
who I guess did the Bang Tango record or something.
Right.
I mean, he was
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
one of those guys.
Sure.
And so that's how he ended up doing that Wasted record, which, I mean, you know, and he did a great job too. You know what I mean? It was,
Sure.
you know, so it ended up being okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've been involved with other stuff. I mean, currently Quiet Riot, you know, I think, is this like, this was a second stint or third stint with Quiet Riot?
Second stint.
Second stint, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So-
I've been in and out of it. But I guess I've been in the band now for this particular time for 5 years, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think when was it? I saw you guys out and you did one of those, I think it was one of those shows you picked up in between other gigs over in Eastern Oregon a couple of years back. Well, it must be longer because you've had, Rosarzo's been back for how long now?
Over 3 years.
So it's probably been about that a little over, geez, see? And that's what happens is that as you get older, your brain starts rotting.
Yeah, your
memory
brain
starts
starts
going
to
away
just-
too. So it's been longer than that. But yeah, it was with one of the last few dates with Chuck Wright, actually. So, but it was good to see you guys. I mean, you're still delivering the goods.
Well, we're still working, you know, you
Right.
got to work. I mean, creativity and art is awesome. And I love doing it. I love making new music, but you know, the bottom line is you have to be able to support yourself and your family. I mean, you can't be a fucking bum living off your stripper girlfriend. You know what I mean? That's kid stuff. I mean,
Right.
we all have to grow up in some way, shape, or form and be able to, you know, at some point be able to pay your own bills.
Right. So I'll ask you to deliver, hopefully, a great Spinal Tap-esque type story, because this will be for We Go to 11. So be thinking about that. But before I ask you that, you know, I want you to describe in one word these 4 bands that you've been involved with, and as far as experience as a frontman and you know, just overall experience, I think. With love-hate, what's one word that would describe the love-hate experience that you've had?
Original.
Okay. What about LA Guns?
I enjoyed being in that band. Tracy's a great guitar player. It was good. It was fun.
And what about Ratt?
Ratt with 2 T's.
Yeah.
That was fun too. That was fun. I'm so pleased that Warren DiMartini is returning to play with Steven. I
Right.
mean, I'm really excited about seeing that. I really am. And I'm not excited about a whole lot of things, you know, as far as classic rock is concerned, but
Sure.
I'm a huge Warren fan, and I can't wait to see the shows.
And it's got to be the tone, right? I mean, him and George Lynch have this distinct kind of tone.
He just has that style. I mean, he just has that iconic style. He has not lost any of his magic. And you know, I mean, I was in a band with him and I was good friends with him, and he's, you know, he's a really nice guy, you know, when you're sitting hanging out on the bus and laughing and joking and stuff. Those were really good times.
Right. And Quiet Riot, you know, second tour with the Quiet Riot guys.
Yeah, Quiet Riot is good too. We're a very professionally run machine, and I like that. I like, as now that I've reached a certain age, I like stuff that I don't like incompetence. I don't like to show up to a gig and there's 3 dudes soldering the PA together. You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
Because I've done that. I've been in situations like that where they're, you know, where the stage, you know, you can't step on certain parts of the stage because there's holes, you know, and they have it covered with a piece of plywood and stuff. So I mean, I've been there. I've I've been in a van sleeping in a sleeping bag, and I've been there. I've done it. You know what I
Right.
mean? That's part
Sure.
of the experience of paying one's dues, and but I certainly wouldn't want to do that now. I appreciate, the nice hotels and the nice food and the nice stages. So that's what Quiet Riot brings to the table is a definitely a high level of professionalism, and I appreciate it.
Right. So, the one thing I had asked you to think about, dig into the memory banks. I know we got the love hate era, we got the LA Guns, we got the Rat era that you participated in, and then QR. Is there a particular story that's Spinal Tap esque that you can share here as we wind things down?
Well, I mean, I guess hanging on the Hollywood sign would be pretty Spinal Tap ish.
Right. And no, and did you break anything?
Um, no, 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 I didn't. I almost jumped, and that would have fucked me up.
What
No,
did
I,
you
I
accident
hung on
for?
the Hollywood sign in 1992. Things were getting desperate in rock. And I thought to myself, maybe what this band needs is a good old fashioned blood sacrifice. So that's what I did. And
That's
it's
it.
on my YouTube channel, J Pearl TV. I mean, it's on YouTube, period,
Yeah.
because I'm it's one of those things of the Hollywood sign throughout history, and there I
Right.
am doing my Jesus Christ pose.
Yeah. I'll have to look that up. So
Yeah. Go to my YouTube channel, J Pearl TV, and
we'll plug that.
it's a great channel. It's got a lot of shit talking and funny
I've
stories.
seen some of that stuff. I mean,
It's
it's
got
just,
all my music. Yeah,
right.
it's a great experience. People are still just discovering it. They're going, man, I didn't realize you had this channel and this and that. Yeah, I mean, it's a great visual medium. I've written a bunch of books.
Right.
And this is kind of like you get to write short stories and put them up on YouTube, and it's good times. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, the album is Punk Rock Fiesta, and it's out on March 1st. Check it out. We'll
Yeah, people are buying it, pre-ordering it. They're pre-ordering
cool.
vinyl right now. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's only been available for pre-order for a couple of days, and it's doing gangbusters. I'm the record company is quite pleased.
Yeah, no, that's cool that people are picking up physical stuff because in the end, meet Jizzy Pearl. It's like, will you sign my iPhone screen? It's always good to have like vinyl or a CD booklet or something to sign, right?
Well, there's something magical about vinyl. I mean, they're really not just as a collector or, if you want it for merch or something like that, but there's just something magical about that old school record. You know what I mean? Especially for people, that remember when that was all you had, 8-tracks and cassettes and CDs, changed things. And now it's changed again. So yeah, when you hold a vinyl in your hand, it's pretty badass.
Yeah. And you could see the artwork.
Yeah. and read the credits without a fucking microscope.
Well, yeah, right. I can relate. Hey, thanks so much.